It's the Two Gems Podcast.
Is the audio on and everything? It is?
We're rolling.
All right. Welcome back. Every time you say welcome back, do you think of that Mace song? Because I do.
Every single time.
Every single time.
I sing it in my head.
Same.
In his voice. Diddy dancing in the back and everything. Play
Me
the
too.
whole thing up.
I was just thinking about this before you sat down.
Okay.
Because I was just thinking of ideas. No, I was just... Anyways.
I like your hat, Sheridan.
Oh, thanks. Daphne got it for me.
Did she?
Did you know that?
Daphne.
When she went to...
Love you, Daph.
Where did she go? Where did they go? Washington?
Well, they went to, I think it was Washington. Yeah.
Yeah, I love these hats. I love them.
What, they like corduroy
Yeah.
snapback kind of thing?
And I find they fit really well anyway. I love a good ball cap. And
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I can wear one, and I think I look okay in it because not everybody can pull off a ball cap. And it's really great for me and my messy hair. Actually, I took my extensions out.
You know what I think?
What?
I think anybody can pull off anything if they're confident in trying to pull it off.
You're right.
I think a lot of people, they get like scared to wear things and try things, so they don't do it. And then when they put it on, they're like, this looks weird on me. When like in actuality, you could probably rock it if you tried.
I just mean like I have a really good shaped head for it.
Do you?
I think. I have a pretty big head.
I wouldn't say you have the optimal head for a hat like that.
Listen.
But you wear it and you're happy about it. I wouldn't say...
Just because you think you have the perfect shaped head for your hats.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't think that you have, like, if someone was like, what is the optimal, perfect type head for a ball cap like that, I don't think they would create your head.
Well,
I just think you wear it happily, and I think you rock it really well.
And always.
And I think you're really cute in them.
Well, thank you.
Because you rock it. You know what I'm getting at here?
Yeah, I do. I get it. I see what you're saying. Confidence is key.
It is.
In
very much
all aspects of life. You could see, in your opinion, the most beautiful person that obviously has insecurities and doesn't feel so confident. And then you could see somebody that looks completely different and is rocking it. And you're like, fuck, yes. You look great because
100%.
You feel it. It's like you get this glow. It's so obvious. Like confidence is sexy, really.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I find that where there's like, I think people have like a...
What?
Here we go. I think people kind of have a type.
Okay.
Like, like if you were like thinking of like your like dream boat person. Like everyone kind of has a type. Oh my God. Michelle does the same motion every day. Michelle Angela. But sometimes I'll see people that like they're not like my type at all. But I'm like, oh my God, I'm attracted to you. You like your energy is so
contagious.
Contagious, infectious, whatever. I love it. I love people that just have good energy to them.
I feel that 100% actually.
Yeah. Good energy for the win. Well, you look like you got something to say.
Oh no, I was just thinking. What I was thinking about was how. Like when you and I first got together, I knew you were a designer. That's what you did by trade. That was your career. And I knew that's what you were going to do for the rest of time until, it ends.
Yep.
You probably had absolutely no idea, because I had absolutely no idea that my career was going to be taken online. And I guess I was just thinking, because I've never actually asked you this question, I don't think, if that bothers you or if it's not what you thought, because I imagine you probably thought I was going to be a teacher, like I did. And now here I am doing this complete different career, and you're very much involved. And a lot of my followers know a lot about you as well. I've been talking about our relationship. I'm open about our marriage, about our parenting struggles. And not every man or woman, whoever you're in a relationship with, might feel comfortable having all that information shared online and how you feel about it. And the reason why I think I thought of this was because I had to screenshot it. I was in tears, which then we can further along. But this person sent or tagged me in a meme this morning, and I was literally laughing. And this is the meme.
We're going to put it up on the screen anyway. But
it says, my boyfriend and I made a list of people we could have sex with if we ever got the chance. He chose Margot Robbie, Charlize Theron, and Scarlett Johansson. I chose my daughter's biology teacher, the barista at Starbucks, and his younger brother. So that's the meme, okay?
Oh.
As in, like, they chose, like people that are
hold
attainable.
on, what was the first one that he chose?
Margot Robbie. I think that's the blonde, and I think she has huge boobs.
Margot Robbie?
Yeah. No, but listen, Matt, this is the meme. Somebody tagged and said, I choose Sheridan Nichols' husband. Just saying.
What? Who is that?
And I was like, I'm not going to say. It's going to go right to his head. But here I am telling you.
Who is it?
Doesn't matter. No.
You got to tell me.
I will show you.
Okay, this Margot Robbie is...
Let me see her. If it's who I think it is.
She's quite beautiful.
Let me just have a peek.
Yeah,
that's
she
what I
kind of
thought
looks
it was.
like. She kind of looks like Brittany Berrigan's business partner there. What's her name?
Stacy.
No.
Brenna.
Brenna.
Yeah, a little
She
bit.
kind of looks like Brenna a little bit. Like that to me looks like Brenna.
Yeah.
Brenna, you're really pretty if you listen.
Okay. So, good thing I'm not jealous.
She's in my 3. You know.
Yeah, Matt's like, I would choose Brenna.
Brenna's 2 slots.
No, but listen. So that brought up the point of me and my online career, and so we'll circle back to that, and then we can further into jealousy and relationships and stuff. So as far as I said, relationship.
So what's the question?
Well,
what is the question? If me being like absorbed into this life that you live, if it bothers me?
And me being online all the time and sharing our whole life to 70,000 people.
It doesn't even bother me one iota. Not even at all. And I think I can probably summarize this pretty well. I think embracing individuality in this world is what makes the world interesting. Mm-hmm. If everybody walked around was afraid to share things and no one would say anything, then like what the heck? It'd be so boring. I think it's interesting now because I think like, my God, I was going to say 20 or 30 years ago, but even probably like 10 years ago, it's like people would only be like, what's the word? Interested or like infatuated with like superstars. But now because of social media, it's like the most average people, like the people that don't live in Hollywood, or someone that could have like 500 followers in Toronto or something, like you can follow their life. And it's cool because you get to almost kind of like aggregate this community around yourself of like-minded people, or people that you find interesting, or people that like push you beyond your boundaries, or like, I don't know how many times you've gotten messages like this, but I bet you there's been like, if not tens, hundreds, or maybe even thousands of people whose lives that you've touched in a positive way by sharing your stories and putting your life out there. So like, and I think that's probably one of the reasons that you keep doing what you're doing, is that it makes, like, if we're going to talk about the 5 things that make a good parent today, which I think we're going to talk about, like our opinion on that, I think that's something that probably a lot of people will see like a lot of like overlap in how they parent stuff, and it kind of makes them feel more content or happy about the way that they approach certain situations in parenting, and like us sharing those things kind of like, you know what I mean? What am I saying right now?
No, I totally understand what you're saying. And I think that a big part of social media and why people love it so much, there's obviously things that people don't love about it, but is that sense of community and being able to relate and sharing experiences. Like, when we were kids, you'd pick up a landline and you'd call your friend, and maybe you would chat a little bit about stuff, but you didn't have that welcoming, like you open up your phone and you see that somebody else is talking about their shit day and you're like, oh wow, okay, so we're all having shitty days. Or again, if I talk about Theodore, people are feeling like the amount of messages, I know we're always focusing on Theo, but I think it's because the amount of messages that I receive about people saying like, thank you for talking about him, because this is what's going on in my household. And I'm always like, what's going on? What's wrong? Am I a shitty parent? And I have the mom guilt and everything. And then they watch my stories and they're like, oh, okay, so I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And that to me, I think, is the best thing about social media. If you're following the right people and the people that you can relate to, is that you don't feel alone. And I think what you're saying is that you're happy to have me do it, because then people are feeling that way and it can be extremely positive. I guess what I was saying, though, was even yourself, like a lot of people that I follow, I don't even know what their husbands look like. I would have no idea. And then they pull up a picture for like Valentine's or something. I'm like, oh, that's what you look like. And that's cool.
He'd make my top 3.
Yeah. If people try to gear their relationships or their social media accounts around themselves and other things in fashion, like that's great. But I just kind of ended up focusing a lot of it on marriage and you, and telling stories and talking about the arguments we've got into and stuff. And again, I think it's one of those things that people can relate to. And they're like, oh, okay, so they're in love, but they also have hard times like everybody does.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, I'm so happy that I can do that. And I think it's great. But I was always just wondering, like, if it even bothers you even in the slightest. Or if there's anything that you've been like, ugh. I guess back in the day when I would post like selfies with my boobs out, you'd be like, okay, what? But now it's like we've created this life together and we're obviously confident in our relationship, that you're okay with it. But I don't think everybody would be. Not every man would be or partner.
But that's because everybody's different, and right down to the people that you choose to follow. It's like, yeah, sure, your stuff might be relatable to a whole bunch of people, but it's also very unrelatable to a lot of other people, so they won't follow you, or they'll unfollow you, or whatever. And that's the really interesting thing about social media, is that you can curate the things that you enjoy seeing every day. And I love that. Like I'm really into like the outdoor scene and off-roading and all that stuff. And so like 90% of the accounts that I follow are something that's dialed in on that type of content, and it makes me feel good. And there's like a bunch of like-minded people. And like when we drove up to Ottawa a couple summers ago, I went up there and hung out with complete strangers to me that I knew on the internet, and made like hundreds of great new friends that I still talk to this day. And I think I kind of pride myself in being a pretty open book to people. And I think that resonates with my clients and resonates with my friends. Like, I really don't hide very much. I'm a terrible liar, and I like it that way. I don't like being good at lying. Like, I like just laying it all out, because I think that it's the best way to be in this world, is just not keeping secrets from people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
No, you're right. And
I don't really think it ever does it? Do I ever get bothered by anything? I mean, sometimes I get annoyed when I, like, have to be in something that I just not in the mood. I've got work to do or whatever, but
well, you could admit that I barely ask you to do things with me anymore the way I used to. It used to be photos all the time. I asked you to be in things almost always. And now I don't know what I've done, but somehow I've created this thing where you're still in it and the kids are still in it, but I'm not annoying them as much as I once was.
Yeah.
Which is really nice, because that doesn't feel nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But your For You page and my For You page are completely different. You're right. And that's what's cool about who you follow. And, I think it's important to take a look at the people that you follow. And there's always this like weird guilt when you unfollow somebody. I don't know why. At least I feel that way. But like, you should do that. If there's something that's bothering you or something you can't relate to, or you're just not into it anymore, like, unfollow that. Your page is for you.
Yeah.
It's for you to follow who you want to follow and to feel good about and relate to. So if there's somebody on there, there's a lifestyle that you can't relate to, or something that seems unattainable and you just get pissed, Like, sometimes I look at these houses and I'm like, what? Like, I'll go in through like a crazy thing of homes and I'm like, look at these things. And then I'm like, ugh, our house needs this and that. But of course our house is great. Yeah. It's just, I like, comparison is the thief of joy, or whatever they say, right? So anyway.
Way to pull that one out of nowhere. Well done.
No, but that's a fantastic quote.
It is.
And it's so true. So there's like kind of this like borderline of being relatable and comparing your lifestyle to somebody else's and enjoying that, and then also it being the thief of joy, right? So you kind of have to find like a happy medium, I think. Yeah.
Oh, man, that guy could go on a big old rant about that, but I'll save us the 20 minutes. But yeah.
Why? I don't mind your rants.
No, I don't know. I definitely don't want to come across as, you know what? No. Okay. We'll keep moving.
So I asked Matt yesterday, I said, I think we should give out some parenting tips.
No, you know what? Before we jump into this,
okay, yeah.
You know what you need to do?
What?
Last episode, we had that thing where we were talking about, like, when I said something about would you love yourself, and you asked me first, and I was like, would I love me? Would you love you?
Yeah, so just a little like brief overview.
Summary,
yeah. Was last episode Matt had seen something online, and the question was basically, would you love yourself if you were dating yourself? Essentially. Like, would you be happy with the type of person you are with your partner?
Yeah.
And Matt said a couple of things and said essentially yes, but there are a couple of things I could change. And we could probably talk about this all episode, like just taking your faults and trying to work on them, having a little therapy session.
No, but I'm so curious, though. Now that you've had it, you actually had time to reflect on it. Would you love you?
Just waiting for me to say no.
If you were me, would you love you?
Yes, I think so. There are a lot of things about myself that I think I would really like in a relationship. You could even take it things like loyalty. That's all there is. I'm like, I have nothing else to say.
Oh yeah, somehow you're gonna poke and prod me to say
I know.
why there's so many reasons.
But
to
there
love
are things.
Damn,
There,
loyal.
of course, there are things that I wish I could change about myself. And
Like what?
well, I think when I became a mom, I think a lot, and it's nobody's fault but my own, but I think a lot of the things that I used to like about myself kind of got stripped away slowly but surely, like piece by piece, and maybe not right at the beginning with Kaya. But now that I have 3 kids, we have 3 children, and I find it all consuming, parenthood and motherhood, that I think I've lost some of my pep, maybe some of my live like carefree attitude. And I don't know if maybe I just thought I was before kids, but I think back to, even when we'd hop on the motorcycle and we'd go and have a good time and come back, have some beers on the beach like that. I don't feel like I have that anymore. And I miss that about myself a lot. So I wish at this point in our relationship that I had more of that attitude, and I don't know where it went. And it makes me sad to think about it because everything seems so organized.
What are you saying that you miss your spontaneous
I just
self?
think I used to be a happier person, and I'll admit to that, and it's fine for me to admit to that. But oh my God, it's like raining, and I'm like emo. But,
oh my God, you're over there crying.
No, I think
We've unearthed something here.
I've been thinking about it lately, and I do think that I might struggle with depression. And, it runs deep in my family, and my parents always told me that they like to keep an eye out on it, especially on my dad's side of the family. He has 5 sisters, and all of them struggle with some sort of mental health issue. My dad is a severely depressed person, as I spoke about on the last episode. He struggled with alcoholism and, even to the point where he didn't want to live anymore. And my brother, who stopped drinking, I guess, 7 years ago, because he was
longer than that. Your brother stopped drinking right before, about 9 years ago.
Because he was seeing the effects on himself after when he was hungover and he was unhappy, and he just didn't want to put himself in that position anymore because of my dad and what he's seen him go through and stuff. And, I always convinced myself, and I think generally I've been a pretty happy person, but I think over the last couple of years that I just don't think that I'm as happy as I once was. And I'm sure you see it. And you see glimpses of me, as we spoke about however many episodes that was, when you're like, I miss Sheridan, because I am there. I just don't feel like I have that same spark as I once did. And so I can use all the excuses and say, motherhood, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. And that's all very true. But even when I went for a walk the other day, because I said that I'm trying to kind of like, it's not so much about my weight. It's just that I feel shitty. And I'm like, exercise is good. You get that serotonin boost and you feel good. And even when I was walking, listening to specifically the Nicki Minaj Pink Friday album, because it reminds me of when I was in university, I was happy because I'm like thinking about the girl I used to be. And I'm like, this feels great. Like in my brain, I'm having fun, and I think I have to force myself to do that sometimes a little bit more.
Yeah, you do.
And understand what I do and don't want to do, though. Like, for example, when you went into the woods on Saturday or Friday, I really genuinely didn't want to go. And that's okay. And I don't think if I went, I would have had any more fun. And I was happy to go on Sunday when we went out sledding with the boys. But so we've come full circle from the question you asked me. But I think that it's time for me to sit. And I know I'm always like prodding you about seeing a therapist and talking to somebody. But I think I've never been on medication for antidepressants or anxiety or any of those things. I tried medication for my ADD. I'm really going on a rant here, but just let me keep going.
Yeah,
I was diagnosed later in life in university at Acadia. I think I managed to make my way through school just with my plain charm. My teachers just liked me as a human, so I don't think I was overly intelligent, like book smart. I think, I just would get whatever the 78 average was, and I found coping mechanisms for myself with my ADD, and I was close to my teachers that I could do that, whether that be going for a walk or just doing things different to stimulate my mind. or like refocus myself. But when I got to university, it wasn't the same, because all of a sudden you're in a classroom with 400 people, right? And the prof doesn't know who you are, and they don't care. Not until you get into like your fourth year and your classes are smaller. But that's when I really realized, like, I was failing almost everything, because especially at that point in your first year university classes, they're like multiple choice questions. So you go have a midterm and it's like 100 multiple choice questions, and I would never get them right. Multiple choice is bullshit, but anyway.
It's always C.
No, it's always what you think it is. It's always what you think it is, and then you change your answer, and then you're like, "Fuck, it was what I thought it was." Anyways, so where was I going with this? So I then went on medication for ADD. I forget what it was called, but it might have been your classic Ritalin or whatever it was. And yes, it helped me focus, but it completely stripped away that carefree Sheridan that was talking 1,000 miles a minute and, really enjoying herself. It made me lose my appetite. And again, I might not have been on the right medication. There's so many different ones now. But I think that's why part of me is kind of hesitant to perhaps try an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication, because of the experience I had with those. But it might be worth it for me to do it now, because, I'm so looking forward to our trip to the Dominican. Matt and I are going to the Dominican in a month, I guess, around that. And I can't wait. But maybe I shouldn't just be looking forward to things. Maybe I should just be enjoying, the day-to-day stuff. Mm-hmm. And I feel sorry for you, because I think sometimes, it transcends over to you, and it could either put you in a shitty mood, or you're like, what's going on here? And I've said this to you many a times. It's not you, it's me. But that's not always great in a partner, to have that, and to... Why are you smiling?
just letting you go.
Yeah, it's just the Sheridan podcast now. Yeah, I'm actually much more focused when you're not talking, Matt. So that's one thing.
I'll just lay it up for you.
Like, so that's one thing, and it's probably the biggest thing, because I think that if that was better for me, that everything else would kind of come together. Because I think from your perspective, if you were to say, like, what bothers you or whatever, it would probably be that. And maybe sometimes you wish we had sex more, but granted, that might have to do with some of my depression and some of the anxiety or whatever I have going on, because one, like, I'm in a good headspace. Like, it's like I'm ready to rock and roll.
Over there.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Which I will be in the Dominican, because it's situational. I'll be happy to be there. It'll be beautiful. It'll be sunny. I'll be getting my endorphins, going with the sunlight and stuff. And I'll be like in the mood. But I kind of wish that I felt like that all the time. So, do you think you're a depressed person at all?
Depression's such a weird thing, and I'm probably not even remotely qualified to speak on it, but the one thing that I would say is, like, I think some people, like, in their soul, they have a lot of soul searching to do, and inside of them, they're just sad people that...
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do remember when because my dad went to rehab many a times, and he learned a lot about it. And he would say that in your brain, if you look at a CT scan, whatever, that it's different when you have depression. Like, your brain looks different. So it's a chemical imbalance, 100%.
Yeah. So some people are like that. And then other people, like, have certain things that make them depressed, like, in their day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. I would definitely say that I'm in that bucket of people.
That would be called situational depression.
Yeah, like, I'm like super hot fire, and then, like, certain things drive me crazy and I get depressed about it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think, you touched on a lot of things there, and I think
20 minutes.
No, I think you know what, like, I'm trying to think. You don't like, just all the things in this world that we all take for granted every day. You know what I mean? Like, even swallowing. It's like when you have a sore throat and can't swallow, like, the best thing in the world would just be to be able to swallow again.
Yes.
Or, like,
nose.
when there's no power and you just, like, take for granted, like, all those days when you could just, like, charge your phone or flick the TV on, like, those just mundane things that you just take for granted every single day.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I feel very, very, very fortunate that I realized at a super young age is never take your time while you're alive on this earth for granted. because like every time a day goes by where you don't do something awesome, you just like wasted a day of your life. And like I think about my grandparents now that they're almost all gone, and I think about like, you know, my grandfather, like Papa Don, like what you know, if he knew at Christmas time that year that he only had 90 days of life left, like he probably would have like seen us all a little bit more, done a little bit more. And like I feel like, you know, you're in your mid 30s right now, so you think you have all this time left on the clock, but what if you find out in 10 years that you have breast cancer or something and the run's done? All those days that you said that you passed up coming in the forest to go sledding with the kids, or like you passed up doing that drive to the beach to go like throw a frisbee around with Theodore, or whatever it is, you would do anything to have that time back. You know what I mean? So like, so like I think it's super important as human beings to just not take your time for granted, and I don't think I ever do. I burn the candles at both ends. Like I stay up late most nights because I want to read and take things in that I may not have time to do tomorrow, and then I get up early in the morning to get to work so that I can get my shit done, and then I spend every fucking waking minute of my life hanging out with my kids and having fun, so that like when my run is done, I can look back and say, you know what, I used like all my time on this earth to do awesome shit. And I think that you have so many great qualities, like millions of things. Like we always make that joke about the jar with the 100 things. I can fill 100 things. I can fill 100 things like freestyling it without even, like, there's amazing things about you. But one thing that I think that you sometimes drop the ball on is I think that you take your time on this earth for granted sometimes. I think you should have came with us on Sunday with all the girls and Kaya sledding in the forest. You didn't come. You didn't come with us. Like, were you crazy? Like, that day may never happen again. There's amazing moments like that, and you're going to come up with an excuse, but I'll tell you, and I know you ended up having a good day with Theo. I know that. But that was like a day where we could have had the whole family together. And don't give me some shit about, oh, it's easier keeping Theo away. No, don't give me that shit.
No,
we should have did it. And that's one of a bunch of instances, Sheridan.
No,
then what I'm going to say is, don't beat yourself up too much. You are probably in this. Oh my God, I need to cut my nails. Holy moly. Cut them or paint them, one of the two. You know, you're like this pocket that you're in right now is probably the most difficult time in your life. It's a beautiful time, but it's difficult. Like I was telling Tim on FaceTime this morning, our little like Monday morning catch-up call. I was just saying, like, you know, like last night, 9:30. Boom, boom, boom. I hear Sage come walking over crying. It's 9:30. Like, we haven't even gotten into the night, and he's already out of his bed, in bed with us. So now we've got a third body. And then 2 a.m, I hear Theodore coming in crying because he's scared and his blanket fell off his bed and he wanted to snuggle. So then, like, we're playing musical beds in the nighttime and shifting all around, and your sleep's broken. And then you're on your phone for 2 hours trying to get back to sleep and whatever. And, like, we're just in this time right now where, like, nothing's formulaic about it. It's just so sporadic and exhausting and tiring, and it's just so hard. But then, you know, you're like, in 15 years from now, you're going to look back and just be like,
it's such
don't let it fleet away.
I agree. And it's such a mind mock, if I were to say, because you're right. I mean, if I think on my life and the life that I've lived so far, you know, this is the most selfless I've had to be ever. And I think, you know, when you're a kid, life is good. You're selfish as heck. You're doing whatever you want.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Then you have high school. If you make it through high school, you're good. High school can be a good time. Then if you want to, you go off to school. University was wild and amazing. I had a blast. Then I went to teachers college. That was fun too. You know, and these are all me doing things for myself, things that bring me joy. And not to say that my kids don't, because they do. But I'm not number one anymore, right? It's not, well, what does Sheridan want to do? And that's why.
Can I ask you something?
No, I'm not done. And that's why I think I always want to do spontaneous stuff where you're like, what is your problem? Like, for example, when you saw my text to Daphne, I was like, let's go to a hotel. I'm just spontaneous because I'm like, let's do something random. That's just for me. That's not planned out. That's not whatever. That makes me feel like I'm 20 again, you know, instead of 33 with 3 kids and whatnot. So I couldn't agree with you more that right now is the most beautiful time in our lives, because you're right. We're going to look back on this. Oh my God, I could cry when the kids are teenagers.
Oh yeah. Oh,
when
buddy.
the kids are teenagers and we're driving them to university and stuff, and we come home and it's quiet, instead of Sage screaming at the top of his lungs.
What do you want to dinner tonight?
Right.
Like,
So, I really hope we make the best of that time, because I think we will. With the type of personality you have and me still wanting to travel and see so much of the world, I think we'll make the best of it.
Oh, so bomb.
But we'll always look back and think of these days with our kids snuggling. And like Theo came over last night. He goes, I just want to lie with mom. And you know what he did? Because Matt's always a bit of a dick in the middle of the night. He's like half asleep. He's like, Theo, go back to your room. And I said to Theo, just lie there. I'll get up in a second. You know what he did? He just sat on the floor waiting for me. He literally just sat there. And I was like, okay, let's go. So I went over to Kaya's and he just put his leg right around me and snuggled me,
Oh, yeah.
And so like, I didn't want to do that. I was comfy. I was so comfy. I was all warm and cozy. And then I just see Theo sitting over there. And instead of even bringing him back to his bed and tucking him in, I was like, I'm going to go lie with him.
Good. Yeah.
And
that's why you're such a good mom.
So I'm trying so hard not to take these days for granted. And then in the same breath, I'm like, these days are a lot. And I think that's what so many women struggle with. And I can't speak on dads. I don't know if it's the same.
Of course it is.
But from like speaking from a mother perspective, it's just that's why the mom guilt happens, because it's like, you want to break and you're exhausted and you miss your old you, but then this new is so beautiful and your kids are so amazing. You love them more than you've ever loved anything. Like, you don't experience a love like that until you have kids of your own, and you want to take that and nurture it and hold it tight forever. But at the same time, you're like, stop squeezing me so hard. I need a break. Right. So I think, and then that just comes full circle back to me being a little bit depressed, I think, and trying to figure that out. And it's just heavy. So those are the things I would change about myself or try and work towards for a relationship, because, a relationship goes both ways. Like, you're in this with me too. It's not just me. And I need to remind myself of that sometimes. And I think people use their partner sometimes to, and it's not necessarily fair, but they'll use them as like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I don't know, they'll just, because they know their partner's sort of like, they know their partner's there. They know they love them. If you have a strong relationship that is it, which I know with you. So it's like sometimes I take advantage of that instead of doing the opposite. I'll just, hone in on the fact that like, I know you're going to love me no matter what. And I feel shitty and I'm not happy, but that's okay. You're still there. And that's not necessarily fair to you either, because I'm your partner and I'm supposed to be the best me I can be, So anyway.
Well, from my perspective, and I know you were like, oh, you'd probably like more sex. It's like, I don't really care. Like, sometimes that becomes, and it's funny because if anyone that like really listens to the show probably has that assumption about me, but I think the word is just kind of like thrown around sometimes. And then you articulated it really well one episode when you were talking about comedian guy, what's his name?
Oh, Trevor Noah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Like he worded it perfectly. It's about the human connection. And I think that's what a lot of men long for. Like, we put it under this blanket statement of sex, which is great. But like, I think it's like a feeling connected with your partner. And usually that ends up leading to sex, but just like that skin to skin that we grew up having. And where am I going with this? What I wanted to say is I just want to just quickly say, Sharon, that sometimes I think you beat yourself up too much. I think you are as close to perfect as a person could possibly be. I mean that.
He's just saying that for the show.
No, I really truly mean that. Like from the standpoint
perfect
of your,
for you.
From the standpoint of a partner, I hit the jackpot. I have somebody that is very loyal. You're fun to be around. You're such a good mom. You're very creative. You're kind to me. You're kind to everyone around you. You're a family person, which I think like fundamentally means a lot to me. Like seeing how much you love your mom and your dad and my mom and my dad and all my siblings and everything. It's like those are just qualities that I look for in a person. And yeah, wouldn't beat yourself up too much. You're a good bud to have around.
Clearly, Matt. About just crying. Thanks, hon. No, I feel the same way about you. I really do. And I mean, every person's going to have their qualities and their not so good qualities. And you just take what you can get. Nobody's perfect. I guess for me, what I'm realizing right now is that there's work to be done on my end, and that's okay.
That's the journey of life.
I know that. And sorry, I just want to circle back because I forgot that you said this about the sex thing. When we first got together and I moved down to the Spice Buildings, do you remember feeling like you were not unsatisfied, but that disconnect? Or did you feel like we were snuggling on the couch watching Aladdin?
No, I mean, at that point in time, I probably had one thing and not the other, though. It was like like you and I were like quite sexually active, but then maybe on the other side, we're still learning a lot about each other. And now I would probably say that there is a good balance of those things.
Yeah, I guess what is making me think that is, I think, again, speaking only on mothers, is that you get so touched out and you get so, not so much now because the kids are gone at school and daycare, but like in those first couple of years where they're just around you all the time, like leeches. And so I think like when I would have given those snuggles to you in the past, because you were my only person, right? Why is that funny to you?
When I would have provided those snuggles in the
No, but now it's like they go to everyone else,
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
And there's only a certain amount of pieces of the pie that I can give out when I'm like, I also need to focus on me. So I think it's so hard sometimes to find a balance on that. And then you're right. You just said that sometimes snuggling leads to sex, right? Well, it's like, well, maybe I don't want it to. Maybe we actually just snuggle on the frickin' playroom couch and watch a movie and you're rubbing my leg for an hour and a half and that's it. That it's, I think a lot of women, I think I speak for a lot of them.
Okay.
I think
Let me
finish. I think I speak for a lot of women, not just myself, that they feel, especially if it's not given up all the time right now because of this stage of life, where you're busy with your kids and stuff like that. I think women have this idea in their head that if they do go to do that with their partner, that their partner is going to hope for something else. So excuse me. So I think a lot of women just choose not to because they get...
Yeah, we get where you're going with this.
Okay.
So on the flip side, I don't even want to talk about this, but on the flip side, if you only ever cuddle like that about once every 3 weeks, then the man on the other side is like, wow, this is a spontaneous entry point to sexual activity.
I totally agree. I don't have the answer. Like, I know.
2 p.m. come like it is sex time. I am ready. Like it's like, oh my god, we're laying on the couch with a movie on. She's got her feet on me. I got like a little lotion on your leg. It's like we're absolutely having sex right now. This is turning me on a lot.
I totally agree with you.
That's why men on the other side are like, that's why with the back row. Yeah, if every night we were laying there rubbing each other watching movies, of course we're not gonna have sex every time we're doing it.
Right.
When that skin to skin is happening and someone actually takes 5 minutes of their life to appreciate their partner like physically and be there together in the present moment, it usually leads to sex because it's so few and far between these days.
So I can understand your point of view. Can you also understand mine?
100%. Let's move on.
Okay. So 5 parenting tips. Now I actually only ended up making 4, so I have to think of one on the spot. Oh, I would.
You should.
I would love
you. Should absolutely.
I do love myself, and I actually really like myself, and I think that's something so important. Like, as you're listening to this, take a second to yourself and just think, do I love myself? And I sure fucking hope you do, because you are your most important person in your life. You're the person that you hang out with every day, that you go to sleep with. Like, I know it sounds weird the way I'm saying it, but like, you're hanging out with yourself all the time. So you better love yourself.
Yes. It ties right back to the very first thing we said this episode. You love yourself, so the ball cap looks good on you.
Yeah, right.
It is. You have to love yourself in this world.
You do.
You really have to.
You do.
And if you don't start working on making yourself lovable to yourself.
Yes.
I think it's a really cool thing to do.
That's step 1 is finding self-love. Because even if you're not in a relationship, or if you are and you're not in a great space, like, that's number 1. Because if you don't love yourself and you want somebody else to love you, that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
You need to love you first, and then you'll have all that love to give, right? Rather than just trying to get it from someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, so I asked Matt yesterday. I was like, Matt, let's think of some 5 parenting tips. And to be honest,
so did you make 5?
well, I made 4. I actually thought of 2 of them at 4 p.m. or 4 a.m. this morning.
Let me see.
But I'm trying to think, like, I got to be honest, my points are not like huge, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's not the big umbrella point. Like, maybe it's like more of like a small point. Like, it's not like an all encompassing, like,
spit one out. We'll go 1 for 1.
Okay, so
then we'll talk about. So like, throw it out, and then we'll talk about.
Okay, so I asked
5
Matt,
parenting tips. From Sheridan and Matthew. We have 5 each. Maybe 4 each.
I only have 4. Yeah, 4 parenting tips. So my first one is mental health days for kids.
Okay.
And I think those are extremely important because I have those days myself. And I think a lot of times adults forget that their kids are also people too. And there's been many times where I can read between the lines with Kaya where she'll say, I don't want to go to school, but really she does. She's just having a hard time getting going. But other times there's a couple moments that I can think of specifically where she just simply didn't want to go. And that's okay.
Yeah, just burnt out. She needed a day.
And we all need those days
Yep.
to recharge. And, there's another day where her and I went and had a day together. And we went to Jack Astor's and we went to the movies. And we were sitting at Jack Astor's and she's like, I really needed this,
Oh, did she actually say it? She probably did.
She did. And I think it's just so important to remember that we need those days, and so do our kids.
Yeah, they're humans too.
And I think that's one of my parenting tips is to recognize that and to not, don't let them take advantage of it, but just to be empathetic towards them and be like, you know what, maybe you do need to stay home and just have a bath and veg out on the couch. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. I do it too. I have days where I just read my books and I have a bath and I just needed that day. So don't be afraid to give your kids those days too, if you're able to do so.
I love that.
Thanks.
That's a good one. And you've actually done it. I've seen you do it. You've had these days. I've seen it with Theo too, where you've just been like, you know what? Stay home today. And they get like a day. And then I remember like both of them in that given moment were like, wait a minute, he's staying home. It's like he needs a moment. And then shuffle the other one off to school. It's like,
Yeah.
I've seen you do it. And that's a good thing, I think.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yours.
Let me see. Oh my God. I don't know. I've got 4 of them, but my first one, they're not in any order, but the first one is encouraging independence. I think one thing that you and I do really well, and I know that I do it, is I let them make their own decisions, even if they're the wrong decisions, and then let them suffer the consequences of it. And I think it's a really important thing to do because it teaches them that they're the master of their own destiny. Like, we're not standing over them, we're here to hold their hand and guide them in life, but we're also not here to like put them in a rigid sandbox where they can't play in it or anything. It's like, inspiring them to make their own decisions and figure their own way out in life and learn their own boundaries and circumstances and stuff, I think is like really, really, really important.
I agree with that 100%. I do think that guiding them and holding their hand is the most important, and letting them know that you're always there for them no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And that's so important for kids to know, is that like, it's okay to tell your mom and dad. Our job here is to help you and to protect you and let you feel safe and loved. So no matter what you tell us, like, we're here for you. And, I think that helps establish the independence too, and lets them know that whatever they do and whatever course they go down, that you'll always have their back, no matter what. And you have to make mistakes. That's how you learn, right?
Well, like, I'm trying to think of an example, and I'll make this quick. It's like the other day, it's like the sledding hill. I there was a spot on the hill that I didn't want Theodore to go down because it was dangerous. And he wouldn't listen to me. It's like he had to do it. So I just go for it.
Yeah.
Figure it out. He
Was
did
this
it
at
one
the school?
time. No, it was out here. He did it one time, and it sucked. And then he didn't do it again. It's like sometimes they just have to just figure it out a little bit.
Well, or else there's the what if.
Yes, if I'm sitting here always going, no, yeah, no. Like, let them kind of just be their own master a little bit and kind of figure it out. And we can be in the back being like, I would recommend not. And then they go and hurt their arm or something. It's like, there you go. Now you just learned your boundaries and what hurts and what doesn't. And yeah.
Absolutely. Kids, like Theo would be wondering the whole time, what will happen if I go down?
Yes.
That? And he'd be mad.
And then he would do it unsupervised and get hurt.
Right.
Very bad.
Yes.
Something.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point.
Next point.
Okay.
Point 2 from Sheridan. What we got?
Oh, that's funny. Mine says guide them, but don't force them. Let them be their own person.
Ooh.
That's kind of what you just said.
Pretty much it.
That's basically, look at us. We're the same. But actually furthering on that, because that is kind of what I meant, but I also meant your kids aren't supposed to be like you. That's not what they're here for. And I think a lot of parents, nope, that was me generalizing. I think some parents might try to, push them in towards a direction to do sort of things that they were doing,
of
or
course.
whatever.
I do it all the time.
Yes, but they're their own person. Kaya's Kaya, Theo's Theo, Sage is Sage, and they're gonna do whatever they want to do. And I don't think that parents should try and put their kid in a box that they want them to kind of conform to. Like
That's the worst thing you could do.
They're their own individual, and I think as a parent, it's just so important to not try and do that, and to in fact just let them be themselves. You know what I mean? Like let them be them. And guess what? They're going to be awesome. It's all good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that kind of falls into whatever you were just saying a little bit.
So I have one that says, and it's weird. It's not even, it's like, it's not really a parenting tip. It's more of just something to be mindful of. But I wrote down actions speak louder than words.
Okay.
And I think you and I need to work on this, is that Theodore in particular, Kaya obviously, but Theodore in particular, like, he's watching everything very closely. And even when you think he's kind of just goofing off in the corner and like, it's just Theo just goofing around, he's watching everything. And I find sometimes, like, I can't even think of a perfect example right now, but I find sometimes you might look at him, or we might look at him and say something, but like our actions are saying something else. And I truly think that our children and all children in this world are very, like, they can feel your energy. And so, like, if, you know, getting ready for dinner and things like that, when there's, like, the anxiety in the house is up a little bit because the house is a giant mess and we're trying to clean up, we're trying to cook dinner and all these things, it's like they can feel that there's, like, just kind of bad energy going on as there's a lot happening and shit. And then all of a sudden, I think it causes a ruckus when, like, you know those perfect moments that are, like, few and far between where everything is just peaceful here, and it's like nothing can break the peacefulness because there's just a good energy going on. And I find that's when Theodore has his best behavior, is during those moments. So it's just
So your actions, as in like try to be more peaceful. Like, what do you mean by your actions speak louder than words?
Well, just like, I don't know. It's going to mean something different for everybody, but just like, and I have Theodore in my head when I'm saying this, is that you can look at Theodore and tell him you love him and tell him everything's okay and all these things, because we do it with Theodore all the time. But try not to just be like feeding him fluff. It's like, let him feel the energy that you truly care about everything going on in his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
With Theo in
I needed an
particular.
example. So instead of just sitting there saying, like, I love you, Theo, and then moving along, show him that
he's
you love
watching,
him.
All of our children are watching, and Sage does it silently. He's watching everything that we do.
Right.
And just making sure that you're mindful of your actions. And I think that's something I need to work on as a parent.
Same.
Because my actions are ridiculous a lot of the times. And they might not understand the sense of humor behind them. So just being mindful of your actions, not just your words.
Okay. So this is a parenting tip, but it's not exactly directed towards your children. And I think this is a very important one. And I wrote, take time away if you can to recharge and come back a better parent. And I stand firmly with this. I think that you can't pour, what is that expression? You can't pour from an empty cup. That's it. You can't pour from an empty cup. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and overstimulated and exhausted and you just need a minute, just as well as I just spoke about the kids needing a mental health day, take one, because there's no doubt in my mind that when you are like at your wit's end and I say go out in the woods for the day and come back, you come back a happier person, a better parent. And I find the same thing. Like, even when I went to Toronto, granted that was like a larger trip, but I was gone for a couple of days and I came back and I was excited. I was extra excited to see the kids. I couldn't wait to snuggle Theo in the middle of the night, right? So it's like, you need to take those breaks. Even like if you have a job, a 9 to 5, and you work all week and then you have a weekend off and you go back and you're like, okay, it's not so bad because I just had a break. Yeah. You need to give yourself those same breaks when it comes to being a parent. However you can do it. And if you're not able to leave, or if you're a single parent or whatever it is, like even something like a bath, when your kids go to sleep, go and sit in the bath and have a moment to recharge, because you need it, or else you're going to fizzle, your light's going to fizzle, your candle, you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. The candle's going to fizzle away. Yeah. And so I think that one's really important.
Well, and you'll bring the best version of you to your kids.
Yeah,
Instead
absolutely.
of this half-assed, burnt-out version where you're just like absolutely exhausted, and I feel it all the time too. Like sometimes when you just need an hour on a Sunday to close your eyes for a minute, so you can wake back up and be awesome all afternoon instead of just like slugging through it and trying to make it happen. So
definitely.
So my last two I really like a lot.
Oh, great.
I think I saved my best two for last. So I think it's really important that you create a home that your children feel safe in. And I don't just mean like, a fortress. It's like zombie proof. It's more like a place where they can fully embrace being themselves. And I'll use the word boundaries again. Like if you create, I almost mean like bringing the energy into your home and creating an environment that your kids can feel like is their safest place in the whole world. So that like for them to be themselves, and I we'll probably see this as they start moving into their teens, but just like making your home the one where they can come home and tell us about what's hurting them or what's bothering them or whatever. And like the other day, Kai and I were laying in bed together, and I knew that something was bothering her. You had told me this. And I went in there. It took like a little bit of poking and prodding, but Kai came out and made herself vulnerable and told me about something that was really bothering her. And she did it. And I explained to her that it's really important that she tells me all these things. Like, sure, you can have your own little secrets and things, but like we embrace having a household that our kids can tell us everything. And it's a judgment-free zone. We've all been here and done this shit. We've all done stupid shit. We've all had those little regrets when we were younger and stuff. And it's like, I just want our kids to understand that they can come to me or you, and hopefully both of us, and tell us these things so that we can help guide them through. And
that is a great point. Listening to your points, I'm like, we are on the same wavelength, which is so important when you have a partner. Like you have to, sure, maybe your styles differ a little bit, but like at the core, like your fundamental beliefs, like they have to be the same.
Yeah.
And you spinning those things, I'm like, I could have written that myself. And it's so true. And I think that we've talked about this a lot, having that safe environment for your children, because the world can be a scary place, a mean place, especially going through school. There's kids that are just bullies and unkind. And, they're working it out themselves on their end. And I'm saying that because I'm sure Theo has bullied people a couple of times and said mean things. So I'm not just like saying like there's musician, like everybody's going through their stuff. But what's important is that when they come home, they feel like they can do and be and act however they want. Because when they go to school or when they go to a friend's house, they put on a bit of a version, right? Like they're not, and they do, and they'll put their best foot forward, and they'll be the best version of themselves. Because that's what you do when you go out into the world.
Well, that's what you want them to do.
But that's what everybody does.
Yes.
Adults do it too. You're going to go to a presentation and you're going to rock it, and then you're going to come home and be like, oh, like, right?
Oh, I do it on this show every time we're recording. I'm like the show version of me.
Exactly.
Which is like pretty accurate. But I mean,
Yes.
at the same time, there's some things I don't say on here just because
Right.
it's just not the place.
Right. So I think, yes, creating that safe environment for your children is huge. Like, if not one of the most important things that you could do.
Yeah.
Because it's sure, it's hard, but it's not that hard. Just love your kids and let them know that they're safe here and keep reminding them of that. So I think everybody's able to accomplish that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. Great.
Great.
Okay. I have to go to the bathroom so incredibly bad, Matt. So hopefully we can finish this off.
What?
No. What? How long have we been talking?
53 minutes.
Okay.
Power through it.
So
Just pee in a cup.
what did I write? Oh, I wrote say you're sorry.
Yeah.
And that's a really good parenting tip, because
Yes.
if they don't learn it and see it from you, how will they know? And I have realized since becoming a mom, like I'm also constantly learning and always saying sorry. And I'm not embarrassed to do it. And I think that when I come forward, like the other day, back to Theo, when we were outside, and he really pissed me off when he did that to Kaya, and I pretty much told him to go inside. I ripped off all of his snow clothes and said, you're not going back out. And I wasn't overly kind. I was really mad. There's certain times, and I'll say this on air, and that's fine. I'm not ashamed to say it, but there's certain times, I was saying it to our friends yesterday, that like I literally see red when Theo pisses me off, because my brain cannot understand why he acts the way that he does. And I just get so mad. Like it's like a rage inside of me, and I don't know what to do about it. That's a me problem. I need to work on that. So I got upset with Theo. I brought him inside, and I took off all of his clothes.
his snow pants and stuff.
Sorry,
he wasn't
yeah.
butt naked, people.
No. He was in all of his snow clothes, and then he threw a snowball at Kaya. He broke her snowman. Like, he was just doing things. Just, I don't know what it was for. But anyway, I said, you can go inside now. So I drug him in. I took all of his snow clothes off, and I brought them outside with me, giving him no way to come back outside. And then, of course, I was sitting outside talking about it to our friends, like saying that, I regret this. And I was thinking that. I'm like, I regret this. I could have just spoke to him about it in that moment, given him another opportunity, but I just was mad. Mm-hmm. And then I went inside when everybody was still outside, and he was sitting down eating a snack. And I looked at him. I said, I'm really sorry about the way I acted out there. I said, I got really mad. I explained it to him. I said, I got really upset at the way you were treating Kaya. I didn't think it was fair, but it wasn't nice of me to not let you come back outside and give you another chance. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he said, I forgive you.
That's a really good point.
And I was sorry. Like, I genuinely was. And I was thinking, okay, I could let this go and I could just move on with life, and I'd go inside and give him some pizza. But like, I want him to know that I apologize for my behavior. And that will further into him also knowing that when he has shitty behavior, that he should apologize as well. Yeah. Right. And we don't force apologies on our kids. I've said that before. I'm not going to say to Theo, go say you're sorry, because that means nothing. You just said actions speak louder than words, right? So what does it mean for Theo to do something mean to Kaya and then just have to go say sorry? He's just doing it because he's told he has to do it. But in an example like that, where I've thought about it, I go inside and I say it and I mean it, and I'm showing my actions and giving him a hug and saying, like, and he's saying he forgives me. That teaches him, when he's in those moments as well, that maybe that's the right thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. And if he's not learning it from us, who's he going to learn it from?
Well, I think another thing that it does when you say you're sorry to your kids is it creates it creates an important, it instills the, what am I trying to say? It instills the confidence in the child that they can achieve the type of person that you are. Mm. I'll try and explain that. Like, basically, I think if you never said you're sorry and walked around like you were perfect, then your child that knows they mess up all the time, like every kid does, it may create this disconnect where they are under the assumption that they can never be like their parent because their parents are perfect and I'm the one messing up all the time. So like when they hear you get down on your knees and apologize to them, it makes you more human to them, and it creates this thing in them where they're like, Mom and Dad mess up too. I can still be great like they are, even though I'm messing up sometimes. It just makes a better connection, which is a perfect segue to my next one, which was, and this will be a controversial one because I know everyone doesn't feel this way, but I think you should be your kid's best friend.
Oh, that is controversial.
And here's why. Here's why. You gonna pee or what? You gonna pee your pants?
No, I'll hold it in.
Because I'm saying my next one too. I actually do have a fifth. Okay. I have a fifth one.
Here you go.
Okay, we're gonna go quick here though. But I think you should be your kid's best friend, and here's why. Because I think good friends. I think the big reason that people think you shouldn't be your kid's best friends is because you need to reprimand them and put them in their place.
I am gonna go pee. Can I go pee? We'll pause it. Sorry.
Okay.
Because I feel like. Go ahead.
Okay, Sharon has urinated and she's back.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Reprimanding them, yeah.
I think good friends will put you in your place. So I think the best friends will critique the type of person you are to a certain degree. I think the worst type of friends you can have in this world are yes men that just kind of go along with everything that you do. Like, I would say I have a pretty like open dialogue with all my friends. If I disagree with something, I will tell them that. I will try and like steer them in the best direction that I think, and vice versa. And I think the really, like, I look at our children, and they're my best friends. Like, and I think that's super cool. And what I think that does is I think it allows you to be a major influence on their life, especially going through those teenage years where it's like, who do you want to be their influence? Bad influences out there at the school, or like people that you don't really know who they are and stuff? Or like, I think at a really young age, you and I have fostered, at least I know I have, of like being there for the kids as a friend as well. And then I think what that does is it creates a relationship where like there's a lot of open dialogue, and they're open to share and tell you things that they might not have otherwise been because you like judge them too much or something like that. So anyway, that's my thing. I think it's important.
You were going to circle it into your next point.
Okay, so then my next point.
Because I will speak on that.
Oops, where am I going here? Hold on. Okay.
Do you want me to chime in on the best friend thing?
Yeah,
first?
you go. Yeah, please do.
Okay, I agree. That one I'm not so sure about. I think.
I can't wait to hear why you think you shouldn't be. As you like go to the nail salon with Kai and do best friendy stuff. Like,
yes, but I also think that they're going to have, I'm really on the spot with this one, but I think that they're going to have a lot of best friends in their lives and they're only going to have one mom and one dad. So I think that being a mom is first and foremost and being a dad is first and foremost. And I think that you could trickle in the best friend status. But for me, it's like you have those things. You have friends. I'm your mom, that's how I feel. However, I firmly believe that I am nurturing a relationship, especially with Kaya, where I know that when I'm like 45 and she's, what will she be, like 20, that we'll be like really living our absolute best because I'm working hard as a mom to make sure that when she's older, I love the person that she is.
So what's the distinction between being a mom and being a friend then?
Well, I think especially at this, you're working towards making best friends. That's how I would word it personally, because, and then of course there's just a personality thing too. Like, some kids will love their parents, but they just don't jive with them the same way as they would as a best friend because they love them and they're their mom, but that's not who they, you know what I mean? Like they wouldn't want to go and do all those things with them. But I can tell with Kaya, like specifically, because her and I like do things alone and stuff like that, that like we're going to want to hang out later on in life. And I'm excited about that. But would I say that Kaya is my best friend right now? Like, I don't think so. I'd still say that like I'm her mom and we're just like having a fun outing together, doing things that best friends would.
Well, you have so many best friends.
Oh, no, but I see what you're saying.
Best.
I see what you're saying, and I love the idea, and I think your intentions are pure. I just think that over time is when, you're going to visualize Sage and Theo and you guys going out side by siding when they're 20 and 23 and you're having the best day of your lives, and you don't have to focus so much on raising them because that's what we're doing right now. Like my job right now as a mom is to raise these children and to teach them right from wrong. And sure, my friends kind of do that and influence a little bit, but like the role is very different in my opinion.
I'm gonna say something.
Okay.
I don't remember. Now make sure I'm not lying here, but if it happened, I don't remember my parents ever doing anything with me.
Yeah.
My dad, a little more so for sure. I mean, dad, but I had a stepdad as well. For anyone that doesn't know, it's probably who I'm referring to right now. But my father would like jump on the ice sometimes and throw his skates on, like play hockey with us and stuff like that. But like for the most part, my parents never did anything with me.
Okay.
They would bring me to my events that I had to go to because it was like their job as a parent.
Okay.
And they would like put a roof over my head and, put me in my place.
Yes.
But they were never my friend. And I think it's super dope that I do everything that our kids want to do.
But does
one sec.
Okay.
In the summertime, I'm swimming with Theodore all day, every day. If Theodore wants to go hiking somewhere, doing any of that kind of shit, I'm there with him. Anything. It's just I want to like. Will I put our children in their place? Yell at them and put them in their room? 100%. I still do the parenting kind of things, but what I will say though is that I've created this relationship with them where there's this awesome synergy of fun and friendship that goes on. I think it's super cool, and I think that what that's going to do as they age is be super open with dad. They're going to tell dad things that
For
they
sure.
and I think that's really cool.
I agree. Although, would I say that is you putting a best friend status on it, or would I say that is just you being an extremely involved parent?
How would you classify a best
No, but
friend?
listen. Matt's just regretting his point now. I'm trying to throw me under. I'm just kidding. I see what you're saying, and I agree with you because same goes for me. Like I remember I spent a lot of time with my dad because we'd be at the cottage. He'd take us out boating. Like we did stuff for sure. But thinking on my mom, who I know listens, sorry mom, love you. But like my mom and I didn't have that much time like that. She would do motherly things, and I see what you're saying, but I'm not sure I would label it again as a best friend. I think I would just say you want to be more involved for your children's lives, which you're succeeding in 100%. And you've spoken to me a lot about that exact thing about how your parents weren't overly involved and you wish they were. So instead you're taking that and you're doing exactly that. And you're forming those, relationships with your kids. So I don't know if I'd call it their best friend or just more involved, but
they're my friends.
I know.
And there's almost nobody that I would rather spend time with than the kids. And tying back into my point where I said that actions speak louder than words, I think it's really cool that instead of just being a dad in the corner, it's like, I love you. You guys are the best.
Yes.
You're fun kids and everything. It's like, they know that I feel that way because everywhere that I go, I'm bringing the kids with me. Absolutely. Because I enjoy spending time with them.
And
they love hanging out with dad.
And they'll have those memories as they grow up. You're right. And and you're forming a friendship for when you're older because they will want to spend time with you and they will have great memories and you're not going to have to, I find there's this weird disconnect when your parents no longer have to parent you and then you kind of have to sort of work towards a new friendship, but you're already creating that. So when the time comes, you'll have that friendship guaranteed, right? Yeah. Which is really cool.
Well, and I get to be an influencer in their life, not just in the house. Mm-hmm. So they get to go out and see me hanging out with my friends because they're coming with me and see the way that adults treat one another and how, and they bring their friends out with us too. But there's just a really cool thing going on. I don't even know how else to put it. It's just they can feel that dad really enjoys being around them.
Yeah, I love that.
I have one more.
Okay.
And I think that this to me, who I am as a person, is probably the most important one. I think it's so important to embrace creativity and individuality in your children. I think you just need to let them be themselves and really try and inspire them to reach for the stars and be their own person. I mean, I think that the only thing that ever got me to where I am in this world, there's probably actually two things. I think I have really good manners, but I think that I think that my parents, the best thing that they ever did for me, all of my parents did, all four of them. They, actually, it's probably even more than that if you really think about it.
What do you mean four? Who are your parents?
All step parents and my blood parents, but all of them unanimously embraced my creativity as a person. They always did. Almost to the point where sometimes they pushed me into it. It was one of these things where even if I didn't want to do creative things, they would kind of steer me in that direction. And look where I'm at today. I think the most important thing in the entire world as humans is being able to have an outlet for your creativity. I think everybody in this world has creative stuff in them and the world just kind of sucks it out of you. And I think that you look at kids and they're so excited about the silliest things, but that's just them being creative and just really embracing that and making sure that they understand that they have so much to offer this world when they're creative and being themselves instead of copy and pasting what everybody else does. It's be yourself. You want a green mohawk? Get the stupid green mohawk. I had a green mohawk. I went to school with stupid mohawks that were ridiculous, but my parents let me do it. I wanted the craziest shoes with the biggest tongues. I wanted to fold them. I must have looked ridiculous growing up, but my parents were always do you do your thing. And then I made an entire life and created a whole world around me out of thin air being creative. So I with our children, I want each of them to understand that you can just be who you want to be. But I'm forcing Sage to have that bowl cut for a couple more years.
My dad literally FaceTimed today. He's like, how's Sage's haircut? I'm like, oh, it's good. And he goes, do you think when he says that, can I have a haircut, that he'll ask for one? I was like, I don't know. But I said, think about how boring Sage would look with a normal haircut. He'd just be like every other 2.5-year-old. Yeah. That's a good point, hon. I like that one. I think
it's super important.
Yeah.
It's so important. Because as they get older and start entering the workforce, and with anything in life, being a creative problem solver, you can't even put a price tag on it.
It's true.
Creativity is the one thing that, even with all this artificial intelligence and all this shit coming out, the one thing that no one can ever rob you of is your creativity.
But you have to remember too, and you're a very creative person. You are. It's in your blood, obviously. Not everybody is. Not everybody is. I remember in problem solving on my report card to be less than expected. I had a hard time trying to come up with creative ideas. Not everybody has that in them, which is just a random point. But I see what you're saying. I'm the worst drawer honest to God in the world.
Well, that's fine.
I can do stick figures, but I'm creative in other ways.
That's not what I mean, though. I don't mean creative as in like being good at drawing. That's not what I mean at all. I just mean when Jim and I got stuck in the swamp in the side by side, my creativity got us out of the swamp. Like learning how to think outside the box and don't just copy, like just because Kate and Elizabeth have that sweater, I want that sweater. Like just express who you are as a person, because that's the one thing that you have in this world is your own soul. Anyway, that's that. And then anything I've got a bunch of like random little notes that I thought really funny.
Oh my gosh, don't do the thing where we like have one in and it's like LOL.
I'm gonna throw a couple pictures up on the screen over the next like couple minutes as we're wrapping this episode up. So
don't talk about the strawberry.
Oh, I come into the kitchen the other day and Sheridan's cutting strawberries up for Kaya, and like I can't even believe how much of the strawberry was going. Sheridan, it's almost as big as your head. Look how much waste there is.
What's your point?
I just wanted to laugh about it.
Okay. Any other pictures? Anything else you want to make fun of me for?
No, not make fun of you, but I thought this was really funny. Read this out loud.
You can't just post a photo of someone's hairline and expect everyone to know them. Me. I don't know who that is.
Do you not know who that is?
No.
Whose hair is that?
Whose hair is it?
It's someone that's been really relevant in my memes lately.
I have no idea.
Do you not know who it is?
Matt's sense of humor.
Oh my God, no! It's the
Show
cop.
the picture up and you can. Oh my God, Matt! You're so annoying.
This whole meme with this cop, the cop that was banging everyone at the station is like literally
banging everyone. This is how we're ending this beautiful episode about our children and parenting
tips. A couple random little things.
No, that's stupid. That's dumb little thing.
Oh my God, those memes have absolutely bodied me. Like I can't stop laughing every time I see anything to do with her.
Wrap it up.
Is this it?
This is it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, see you next week. Hopefully that you still remembered all the very important things we said at the beginning.
I mean, hypothetically, we could cut that out, but we're not going to. There's a little thumbs up button. Hit it.
Yeah.
And then there's, more importantly, a subscribe button. Hit that and tell all your homies about it.
Yeah, thank you.
We'd appreciate it. It means a lot.
Look, I'm actually looking at the cameras this time.
I love you.
Bye.
Podcast.